Welcome to our 8th episode of SARCan, Canada's Volunteer Search and Rescue podcast. For Volunteer SAR, about Volunteer SAR, by Volunteer SAR, and brought to you by Axiom Mutual Insurance, keeping promises close to home. My name is Patrick Armstrong, and with me, as always, is Spencer Whitelaw.
Hello, Patrick. 8 episodes, eh? This is going to be a problem. I'm running out of fingers here.
I know we're getting into the toes pretty soon. So I think it's important to talk about. We had this unprecedented ice storm that hit central Ontario. We want to say a big shout out to the first responders and to all the hydro workers who are out there. And our own team got deployed. SAR was able to go out and help Dufferin County.
I'm sure I'm getting sick and tired of these unprecedented times. I sure could go for some precedented weather for once. But yes, it's been a crazy, hectic winter and spring, and everybody's been working overtime and super hard, whether it's our plow operators or hydro workers, everybody dealing with crazy amounts of snow, crazy amounts of wind, and then ice too, because why not? Thank you for everything that you have done. Thank you for everybody in our emergency services field, both volunteer and full-time, everything that you've done to help keep the public safe throughout these last few months. Hopefully that's the end of it, I hope.
As I call for snow this week, we put the call out and we had 7 members immediately jump up. We called it Operation Dices because I get to name the operations.
As you do our vehicles here, I think you have too much overbearing power in this organization, getting to choose all of our names for everything. And clearly the only thing you love as much as G.I. Joe characters and vehicles is Greek gods. So that's cool. That's new.
And Greek goddesses. And I am more than willing to give my position up if somebody else would like to take it.
Nah, you called my bluff there.
Exciting episode today. It's going to be our first with an actual sponsor for equipment, a company, and it's SED Technologies. They create some stuff that goes all the way around the world in communications technology, and they're out of Kincardine.
Yeah, it's amazing that such a worldwide company that provides such an important tool for search and rescue and emergency services are right here in our catchment, being in Kincardine, Ontario. So that's great. And there are so many different organizations out there that provide such vital technology and equipment to search and rescue organizations. I'm looking forward to interviewing more of them in the future, but SED Technologies is a great one to start us off.
Our episode sponsor this week is Bayfield Marine Services, keeping you afloat for over 40 years. And Spencer, a lot of what we purchase on the Coast Guard Auxiliary side of us goes through Bayfield Marine. They are wonderful to deal with. They have to put up with me constantly stopping in there. I know this May they're doing a flare turn-in day. So with your expired flares, if you're in the Huron area, bring them by. Check out our social media. We'll have the date and come on down to Bayfield Marine Services and donate your used flares.
Can't I just go and fire them off in the woods?
You can try. I'm not sure who that will bring.
No, you can't. Disclaimer, it's illegal.
Welcome to our SAR Spotlight. I'm with Katie Willie from Saskatoon Search and Rescue. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Well, we're doing great.
We're doing well. It looks sunny where you are, and we are gray with a lot of rain here.
We've gotten a lot of snow in the last 3 days, so the sunshine's very welcome, and hopefully spring is actually here now.
Katie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I joined Saskatoon Search and Rescue about 2.5 years ago. So I'm one of our newer members for sure. Outside of SAR, I work as an archaeologist around Saskatchewan, and came into joining Search and Rescue because I like the idea of being part of like a community thing, but really liked the training and the medical side of stuff and didn't really want to do it professionally.
Katie, why don't you tell us about Saskatoon Search and Rescue?
For sure. So Saskatoon Search and Rescue, like many, we are a volunteer organization. We've got around 40 members right now, and we operate out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and respond to calls from the RCMP across Saskatchewan, Sask Public Safety, and the Saskatoon Police Service primarily. And we get call-outs all over the province and within the city itself too. And one of our programs that we specialize in operating is the Project Lifesaver International. So we run that here for Saskatoon. And so that's one of the big focuses of Saskatoon SAR is the Project Lifesaver and keeping our clients and participants in that safe.
I have a huge passion for Project Lifesaver. I'm an instructor here in Ontario, and I don't think that people appreciate how vital that technology. And I know it always appears dated. I always tell people it looks like something from the original A-Team series when they're reading the scan, but it is such a proven, valuable technology, and it saves lives.
Yeah, and we've seen that on a number of occasions here in Saskatoon as well. So we're fortunate to have the support to operate it and be able to, yeah, have that in our community. And it's a big part of what we do for sure.
And the month of April is Autism Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things in the last several years with Project Lifesaver is the push for not just those with dementia,
Yeah.
but for those with autism and wander as well.
Yeah, and that's been a big part of how we've tried to push it to community. Is it's not just for those with different forms of dementia, but anyone with that tendency to wander. So it's something that I think pretty much everyone in Saskatoon SAR holds pretty close to their hearts is the Project Lifesaver, and it is one of the bigger things we train for sure.
I'm a big fan of Project Lifesaver as well, and I know our listeners can't see us, but as soon as you said Project Lifesaver, Patrick and I both just started nodding completely in sync, hearing about it. And the only thing more exciting than being able to use the Project Lifesaver equipment is watching somebody else use it from a distance, where they have headphones on and they're holding a Radio Shack era antenna in the air and spinning in circles. And it's
Yeah.
quite entertaining, but it's super exciting. If I recommend out there, if any SAR teams have the opportunity to get involved in it, invaluable tool when it comes to search and rescue. So I'm so glad to hear that our search and rescue teams across the country are deploying that and using it regularly.
I appreciate you coming on and us learning about Saskatoon Search and Rescue and yourself. We want you to be safe, you and your team, and please listen in to SARCan.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, definitely will get everyone to check out your podcast here.
Awesome. Spoiler, we're going to be at SARCan this year.
Oh, awesome.
We're going to SARCan and we're going to podcast live, which is probably not, it'll probably be our last episode after that.
It's going to be
However,
it's going to be a mess. Yeah. Today we have with us Peter and Rolf Eberl from SED Technologies. Peter, Rolf, thank you very much for joining us on SARCan. Why don't you start off by telling us a bit about yourselves and SED Technologies?
Well, Peter and I have been involved with this company actually since childhood. We're the sort of child labor that helped to build this, and our father was the one that had the passion for the design work. And anyway, we started out back in 1971 and manufactured specialized microphones and amplifiers, first for the chemical industry. And then we got into the nuclear industry, which of course is in our own backyard here, being located in Kincardine, Ontario. And from that, we got into headsets and then into full communication systems. Initially, they were just the portable, personal type of communication systems. And later, we got into the really large systems that even handle whole nuclear facilities with suit communications, maintenance communications, telephone systems, PA systems, everything, and integrated so it all works together. And we bring the same thought process then to equipment that's used on vehicles and in search and rescue boats and fire trucks, of course, and that sort of thing. So pretty broad range of stuff, and it's now recognized world over for the kind of unique equipment that we make that's very specialized. And of course, we also get into portable equipment, where the portable equipment would include the Rescom Elite, which is a rope interconnected type of product, the rope being rescue type of two-man rope. And we're one of, well, I think we're one of the only companies in the world that offers a guarantee that the communications remains intact right until the rope failure, which is at over 10,000 pounds. So we always strive for having equipment that's very unique in how we package the product to be as straightforward and intuitive as possible. And we often have people that only use the equipment once or twice, and we need to know that the equipment will be used correctly no matter what the guys do. So we bring that same method of design and presentation for all the products that we do, whether it be for nuclear, rescue, SARS, industry, explosion proof whatever you have.
I know when it comes to agencies, our own Huron Area Search and Rescue, we have been lucky enough to be partnered with you for quite some time with the initial donation of ResCom. And we'll get into that a little bit later because it's incredible what that can do. And of course, the communications on our Coast Guard vessel, the Florence Graham. What other agencies out there do you supply, and what is it you're supplying to them?
Okay, so we're supplying ResCom to any number of fire departments in the U.S. and Canada, and primarily for rescue work in buildings that have fallen down or in the rubble pile, and also for high angle rescue. So that's where the ResCom is being used primarily. We're selling the vehicle communications into airboats and some of the other boats that are being used for Coast Guard work. And those are the two main areas that we see our product being used by different agencies.
So, Patrick, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the ResCom is also used for rescue and for communications down in mines. And so it has a pretty broad application. And as such, the product is sold now in something like 23 different countries. And we recently received our ATEX IECEXCE approvals. So the product really can be used in pretty much any area without concern of its safety. And there are some exciting things coming in the future which will extend the temperature range as well for it. So the certifications will be improving, we hope, within by the time the third quarter rolls around.
Wow. And I have to say, having worked with you for quite some time, I had to learn what intrinsically safe meant. You definitely make me have to Google some of these terms. Can you talk a little bit about what is intrinsically safe?
Intrinsically safe basically means that the equipment cannot cause a spark that would then cause an explosion in either a dusty area or in a gaseous atmosphere.
And where that really becomes critical, for instance, if you're doing search and rescue and you had to do something in a flour mill or in a granary, you wouldn't know what the explosive conditions are there. So being able to grab a piece of equipment and just go into an area without having to do a lot of testing ahead of time or ventilation, you're good to go right out of the box.
Or if there's propane leaks or anything of that nature as well.
Oh, I definitely can see when you're talking about mine, when you're talking about nuclear environments, and then getting into anything from methane and barns and again grain bins. Definitely things that fire and search and rescue have their hands in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know with working with SED Technologies, I don't know if you know this, Spencer, but when they donated some stuff for the Florence Graham for communications, they had me up and actually worked around our helmets with the headsets and had me hands on so that you could see the items, how to use them. I've always been impressed with everything that you two do, and definitely your company. You have great employees, and they've just treated us like gold for being a little search and rescue just down the lake from you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Patrick, for that recognition. I really appreciate that. And my staff really loves hearing that as well, because there are very few clients that will give the feedback that what they're doing is good, and it spurs people on to do better.
Getting into ResCom. So essentially, Spencer, and for the listeners, it's communications through a rope rescue line. I think the one we have is 13 mil. Is the ResCom Elite, is that a little thinner?
No, the ResCom Elite is just the version of the way it's packaged. It's just the new housing for the main unit and the secondary units, and then we've also added some of the newer headsets to the lineup. The 13 millimeter rope has been our go-to for years and years, and we're currently working on an 11 millimeter version of that, but we're not quite there yet. We're just starting to in talks with the certification body right now on that.
Our standard line for Hazar for our rescue team, we're using, I believe it's 12 to 12 and a half. But what's nice with the 13 is it will still run through our IDs and things like that. it doesn't snag. It's a little stiffer for knots, which is fine because what we do is use the ResCom as our belays. We actually have it to the rescuer as the secondary line, their belay line, alpine butterflied off, and then that communications line ends with the throat mic and the headset. So we have the security of that second line, but also we have the instant communications, and it is clear. When we were doing some bridge work for training and whatnot, Spencer, you could hear every grunt and groan that when we're going over and trying to climb back up. But it has really been beneficial for us as a rope rescue team, and trying to see how that's going to work on the ice rescue side with the dry suits. We have great experience with it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to throw out there about ResCom, because it's such a great product for search and rescue.
One of the things, if I may inject, when the ResCom Elite first came out, one of the things that we did is we took what used to be a sort of military-style connector and we redesigned it for use with our equipment. The original connectors had kind of screws with a clamshell arrangement on the back, which tended to snag people's protective gloves and clothing. And so we did away with that and came out with a vice grip kind of arrangement, which allows you to crank it right down with it's a collet grip, sure, with a spanner. But also something that's really unique about our connector is the release ring. So I'm sure, Patrick, when you've got your rescue gloves on, you'll notice that it's almost like a gear.
It's aggressive.
Because it's a very aggressive kind of knurl that we've used on there with sort of a low profile tooth on it, which is much better than the knurling that is typically used on those kinds of connectors. And that means that even if you have double gloves on, you can still activate these connectors. And it is a watertight connector down to 35 feet water pressure.
And you're so right. And I know that most people don't think about something like connectors, but in the night, in a high stress situation, when you're trying to connect this stuff, either low light or we know you lose a lot of fine motor skills in high stress situations, when you're just cramming this in to plug it in, we have had great success with how durable it is and just how natural it is to plug in, ratchet it down, and we've never had an issue with that. So, I mean, this is designed right from the connectors through the entire line or rope for search and rescue and for that fire purpose. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we've had that. We've had other fittings for other type things where they snap quite easily because they're fine. So we appreciate how much thought goes and design goes into that.
Right. There's actually a little bit more that goes into it too. You'll notice that the ropes are connected to the connectors in a fashion that all of the strands are bonded to the connector. We saw this already in our competitors. They're using clamp arrangements, and when first you have one strand come out, then a couple of strands, then 4 strands, 8 strands, and in very little time you've got catastrophic failure of your connector. Well, we guarantee that the connectors will never fall off of your rope or your extension cable.
We're potting them with epoxy, so they simply won't come off.
They're bonded, and also the cables, like our DuraCore cable, there's a strength member in there, so it has an end-to-end strength of 60 pounds. So again, you can't just pull the connectors apart or have the cable come off unless somebody's really reefing on it. Nothing's impossible to damage, but we make it a whole lot harder to have that happen. So one last thing is that connectorization on the equipment is done that you will never have a male to female connector on your cables. I know that's a favorite in the electrical industry and audio, is to always have male to female extension cords. But Patrick, you're going to find that every connector you have on the end of an extension cable or on a rope, they're always a male connector, and it always will go into a female connector that's on a box, a junction box, on your cable reels, on the equipment itself. You can never make a mistake.
And that's important because when, like you said, having 2 male ends is ideal simply because having the same on either end means you can't mess up. You can't lay out 600 feet of line and realize, oh, I've got it backwards. And
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
and
Time is
that's
of the essence.
absolutely. And if
Yeah.
there's anybody who can break equipment, it's me. And I've yet to break these things yet. I don't try to, but it is a natural habit of mine. So
I can confirm I'm looking
You
at
know,
multiple dented and dinged up vehicles and trailers right now.
well, we give a 1 year we give a 1 year warranty with extension cords and ropes and that sort of thing for connectors falling off. There's nobody does that. And the same with the electronics, we give a 5 year limited warranty with it because we just know the stuff is bulletproof, it just lasts and lasts.
I don't know if this is you showing your age, as that's a recurring thing on each episode of forgetting things. But I was there when SED made their initial donation to us. It was you, me, and Tom, and we got to test out the throat mics. And I will say there is nothing that you can mutter under your breath and not have somebody hear. The quality is phenomenal. You're hearing things that you've never heard before, and it's just amazing. So. Prior to that, my best audio experience was like my headset for my online gaming, but this is obviously second to none with the quality that's involved. So you guys do an amazing job. How you've owned your art, obviously, over the years is amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And then we've got the third part of your company called Ropa Technologies. Share with our listeners what that's all about.
So Ropa Technologies is our training arm, which is primarily involved in the nuclear industry, but can be extended into other industries as well. And it's the training of human performance and how to work error-free to reduce downtime out in the field, or in the nuclear industry, of course, catastrophic issues.
So that it's built around is that from INPO, which was an agency that was created after 3 Mile Island episode. And the U.S. started to analyze
industrial accidents.
The modes of accidents and what was the common theme there. And oftentimes it's a lot of small, apparently unimportant failures to act or in the way they've proceeded. And they all aggregate to a catastrophic failure, such as the Exxon Valdez, or there was a Florida flight where the whole aircraft crashed and all people were killed due to a light bulb that was indicating whether the front nose gear was down or not. And it's just a terrible thing that when you consider that such a small detail led to the loss of life like that. So anyway, these error-free methods can be applied to a lot of industry. And we've now packaged a training product, which we call Hubert, or a human performance trainer. And we have that in cabinet form. We have it also in a portable unit now that can be taken out to the trainees. And also we're working now on going from the original typical switches that people will find in industry to that which is touch switch. But more important about all of that is that it's not a simulator, but rather it's a trainer that teaches people the correct manner for three-way communication, placekeeping, and a lot of other habits that need to be followed to ensure that what is intended to happen happens and nothing more.
That's excellent. I love that. Working under pressure, like we just talked about, your fine motor skills and things that you've practiced time and time again, once it's actually going live, that stuff kind of can sometimes go out the window. So train like you fight and fight like you train, right? You get all that stuff down pat. It's going to be a much more seamless transition when you are employing those methods in the field. And it's going to make or break your the success of your mission, getting started off the right way. So I love that idea of bringing that into part of SED Technologies and ResCom as well.
So in all of our designs, I mean, human factors are a really important part of our thought process. There are a lot of products nowadays that the techie people design a product and there are two buttons. One button switches it on if you hold it on for 5 seconds. Another one, or perhaps the same one, if you hold it again for 5 seconds, it'll switch it off. But the same button will then be used along with another one just to adjust your volume up and down by doing a short blip on each one. but the same ones are then used to program your cell phone, your handheld radios, to call up another menu, which brings up radio and all of that stuff. And we are really averse to designing things where it takes a lot of training to teach people how to use something, which sometimes the employees are only there for a day, or they might be from an adjoining team that has that's going to be working on a mission, and you want everything to work in a straightforward manner. So going back to physical volume controls, having a physical on-off switch, and burying the other controls that are, or embed the controls in a fashion where the average person doesn't have to be interacting with things like programming to connect to handheld or mobile radios. We hide those things because we don't want people to start playing with them and not understand what they're doing. And it's not necessary anyway. So everything has to be straightforward and it has to be intuitive. And that is, it might be old school, but you know what? In this complicated day and age, we want everything to work as it's supposed to when it counts.
Such a novel concept and goes such a long way, messing around with a whole bunch of buttons and
Yeah.
hold the button down this duration to access this feature, this duration that, and you don't need all of that when everything's kind of flying by the seat of the pants there in a live call. So that's phenomenal. I've got labels added where the smiley face plugs into the port with the smiley face, and the picture of the bicycle plugs into the port of the picture of the bicycle, because I know that when it's live and I'm not even in danger, but just the urgency to get that all stuff set up and plugged in. I don't want to fiddle around with trying to remember which 3.5 millimeter jack goes in with which one. It's just connect the circle goes into circle, square, and make it up. So that's super great. And that's not even that stressful as a gig. So when you're actually belaying down something, I'm not a rope guy, but and rescuing somebody, for sure, that's incredibly important. So.
Did you just say belaying down something?
I don't know, Patrick. I'm a fraud.
That actually brings up a really good point. And one of the things we've done with our ropes is they're color coded. So
even better.
So that means that if you have Joe on the yellow line and you've got Tom on the blue line and Patrick on the green line, when it comes time to actually you do your head count, when you've done a roll call, that you're missing someone from your team because you heard, I don't know, maybe an air tank hitting the floor, and you're saying, do a quick head count, and Tom is missing. Well, Tom was on the blue line, so let's go and pull them out. You know which rope to haul on because it's already been organized ahead of time.
Or if we don't like Tom, we can just cut the blue line.
This is why we don't let Spencer be on the rope team.
Spencer might be the first one to go.
Yeah.
There are days, believe me. Yep.
One of the things that we were talking about is some of the markets. We are also going into wastewater management. Our product is used industrially in a lot of different places. I've even had somebody that's doing hydraulic excavation, buying the equipment. We've had people that were relining sewers that had a guy crawling through the sewer basically in a wetsuit or a dry suit. And he takes the equipment off at the end of the day and throws it in a bucket of disinfectant and gets it cleaned up for the next day, and so I mean it's fairly rigorous, some of the applications, and so it's being used quite
dirty environments.
Dirty.
Where I think in the sewer case the guys could go in one direction, if I recall correctly, and they felt that they'd never been able to do the job confidently because they didn't have good communications, and this gave them the confidence they needed to tackle the job. I hope they were well paid. Yeah.
So that was one of the things, the different markets, and some of the new equipment, some of the new things that we're working on. We're working on incorporating the 11 millimeter rope. We're working on incorporating a silicone jacketed wire for high temperature applications, people that are doing heat treating and that sort of thing and other high temperature jobs. And we've got an interface that we're planning right now where you'll be able to jack in a recording device. So there's different things that we're working on.
Recording, PA, and telephone will all be possible on the same interface, by the way. It's just a unit that will connect. So that people have the total picture when it comes to situational awareness.
So, Peter, Rolf, that brings us to our last question. And I'm wondering what keeps you gentlemen in SAD Technologies, been very generous to us for sure in Hazar, what keeps you motivated to wanting to help search and rescue and other rescue agencies that you have been for so many years?
Basically, we're just like the idea of manufacturing equipment where it's being used to help rescue people, and it's just a great industry to assist.
I think at the end of the day, we're pretty creative people and we love finding solutions for things. And having the experience that we do with so many industries and knowing what each of them is looking for, we've been able to roll it into our products in some aspect. You're going to see things that we've learned from the various industries, and we bring them all into equipment like the SARS equipment. The RESCOM already takes advantage of things that we learned in the nuclear industry. So, for instance, the interfaces for PA telephone. You had an acoustic coupler for use right now, which allows you to join it to other rescue equipment or other equipment that does not have intrinsic safety. But now, with the new interface that's coming along, being able to connect in by wire means that you can connect in a variety of things now, like mobile radios and other things that previously were not easily connected to the equipment. And those are things that the nuclear industry demanded, and now we're applying that same thought process to the other products that we make.
It's so great that you're not only just open to feedback, but welcomely encourage it from your stakeholders, the companies and the organizations that are using your equipment to be constantly improving. That's awesome. I do have one last question for you. Will the cycle of child labor continue? Who's going to carry the torch for us?
Well, it hasn't worked well with our own families.
My son does work for us, but he's already in his late 20s, so it's not exactly the same thing.
And he's paid.
Yes, he is paid. You bet. Well, we were paid as well. Even when we were younger, we were paid.
That's true. And it appealed to our enthusiasm for electronic and mechanical assembly because we were brought up that way and we just loved building things. So it still continues to this day.
Awesome. All right, Peter and Rolf Eberl from SED Technologies, communicating with confidence. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of SARCan.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick and Spencer. Thanks.
On behalf of Hazar, thank you for everything that you've done to support our little organization, and I look forward to working with you in the future. So thank you.
Well,
Thanks
it's a
very much,
mutual thought there, Patrick. Thanks for the opportunity.
Before we go, I want to highlight these are the people in your neighborhood, a section where we mention a volunteer from across Canada. In Spencer, we haven't really done this, but I'm going to mention a Hazar member.
Oh.
We would like to thank Archie McGowan. Archie has started from really the searcher position and worked his way up, I think, through almost every position we have. And he is now our rescue commander. And as well as having to take phone calls from me almost every single day, has been a vital part of our organization. So, Archie, thanks for all that you do.
Archie does an amazing job. He is incredibly dedicated. Like you said, he has just flown through these positions. He's incredibly well-rounded and smart when it comes to search and rescue, and we do not give enough credit for having to field your phone calls. Every time I get a phone call from private number, I just know there's a 98% chance that it's you, and I appreciate Archie being there to alleviate some of that for me. So thank you, Archie. You, the real hero.
That kind of hurt.
You'll be okay. Thank you for listening to SARCan, Canada's Volunteer Search and Rescue podcast, brought to you by Axiom Mutual Insurance, keeping promises close to home. SARCan is pre-recorded and produced by the Huron and Area Search and Rescue and edited by Bad Puppy Productions.
SARCan is driven by your suggestions and comments, so please, if you have an idea for a topic, want to highlight your SAR unit, or give a shout out to a member of your team, contact us at sarcan@hazar.ca, and we'd like to again thank Hay Communications for their sponsorship. SARCan, for Volunteer SAR, about Volunteer SAR, by Volunteer SAR. On behalf of Spencer and I, we'd like to say thank you for listening, and I'm still working on that inline, and I think I have one.
Oh boy, what is it this week?
It's from Casablanca. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
That's like a really, really old movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's black and white.
Oh, guess what I just watched last night?
What's that?
The Goonies.
That is not black and white.
It's old enough.
You've never seen it before?
No, we started watching National Treasure because Nicolas Cage is awesome. And Lauren was like, "Hey, let's watch The Goonies." And I said, "What's that?" And I didn't realize how many pop culture memes have come out of that. There's the generational gap here. You're talking about Casablanca, and I'm talking about memes. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I recognize this." And it wasn't as good as National Treasure or National Treasure 2.
It's
But it was.
soundtracked by Cyndi Lauper.
I did notice that she had some screen credits, and then I'm like, "Oh, Samwise Gamgee's in here," and yeah, like there's so many.
Thanos.
Yeah, yep, he's in there as well. Yep, Josh Brolin, very good.
All right. On behalf of Spencer and I, thank you very much for listening.
Bye.